Okay, so I'm working on my Rails project right now for the Flatiron software engineering program. And what I'm doing at this point in time is adding forms to my project. I've created a new branch called Forms and switched from my master branch to my Forms branch in case I do anything to really mess up. I can just switch back to my master branch and everything will be like it is now, or like it was before I made these 3 slight changes. It's very handy. So just to get you familiar with my app as it is right now, this is a lender app. The main user is a lender. I've used the devise gem to implement this lender model, and they have an email and a password attribute. They log in and they can create a borrow, and this app tracks different borrows that they have. It tracks what items they've lent to who. So recipients are people that they've lent items to, and the recipients have a name and the optional attributes of email and phone number. Items have a name and an optional attribute of category. And borrows have the number of days borrowed, the number of reminders sent to the recipient, and if the item has been returned. And you'll see these 3 foreign keys on here. They all have indexes. That's because the borrow belongs to each of these models as well. And you can see more clearly here. I have borrow. The lender has many borrows, has many items through borrows, has many recipients through borrows. And then the borrow acts as a join table between item and recipient. So the recipient has many borrows, the item has many borrows and has many recipients through borrows. And a recipient has many borrows and also has many items through borrows. So that's an overview of the schema of my app. So now I'm building a new borrow form. For now, I'm just going to put it here in this partial nested under my borrows folder in my views folder. And what I want to do is create it so I can also either select a recipient from a list of existing recipients or create a new recipient, and do the same for an item. For the lender, this will be populated according to which lender is logged in using the current lender helper method that comes standard with devise. So I'm bringing this up. You can see here that I already have this form made up. This is because I used a Rails generator called Scaffold to create my project. And I added in the attributes and the relationships. So now what I'm going to do is change some of this. A lot of it actually, because they're using a form with. I don't really like that. I'd rather do a form 4 just because I don't really know much about form with. And also they insert this error message display here for each form partial. And this can be itself abstracted into another partial. So actually, before I get started with this, I'm going to abstract this partial. And I already have a partials folder here. It just doesn't have anything. So form error messages.html.erb. borrow.errors.any. Okay. I think that is what we need. Wait, oops. Undo. Yeah. Okay, I'm cutting all of that. I'm putting this in here. Now, I'm actually going to open a new window because I had started this project called BorrowBuddy. This is my version 1 of my Rails project, and it never came to fruition, but I do have a lot here. So I'm going to use some stuff from here. I used resource in that one, and rendered partial, form errors, local resource. First, form errors. I like that better. It's shorter and it still conveys what you need. So let's see. I'm going to use object. So the object is going to be borrow. We'll change that. Form for at borrow. Keep that local true. Although I really don't think I need that because I can just pass in this borrow instance here. So form for at borrow, do. I'm going to call this borrow form just to make it a little more descriptive. And I'm going to delete these HTML tags because they're just bothering me. Oh, hey. Just clean it up a little. It'll be easier to work with. Okay, great. So that's all good. Starting up the Rails server. I am going to put this back in. Just so we don't have like a bunch of bunched up stuff that looks bad. Okay, this is what it looks like so far. I'm logged in, and I get Meg. Going to my borrows. This is all seed data, so it's all fake. Go to new borrow. And here it's all reflected. Now this isn't what I want it to look like. People aren't going to know what the lender ID is or item ID, recipient ID. I don't want this to look like this. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of fixing it up. But it's a form and it works for now. And since I know that that works, I'm going to make my formats. What's the word? I'm going to make them the same across each of my models. So here we go. Now it's item. Delete those two. Delete those three. let's see, my items. There we go. And then I want to do this just to add line breaks and make it look a little nicer. See, they're all on one line now. Now it looks a little nicer. And recipients. Recipient dot, oops, underscore form. And then add these little line breaks. Go here. There, great. So they all look good. These are looking good. And before I go any further, since I just made a good amount of changes, going over my, this is called Get Kraken. I really like this for working with GitHub when I'm staging changes. You can commit, you can select different files and even parts of code to stage changes and add commit messages. And it's a graphical user interface, or GUI. And it just helps me to visualize things. And I think I work better that way. So I just really like using this tool a lot. I'll still use Git in the command line too. But with a project this big, and I know there's probably people watching like, yeah, this isn't big. But it is for me. So I'll probably start to rely on this a lot. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I've been working in the terminal for the past 14 months using Git commands, and just recently started heavily using this. But even as a learner, when you're first starting out, I think it's a good tool to use just to see different branches, different things that you've done in the past. If you're working with other people, it helps to visualize that. And if you mess up with something when you're entering Git commands in the terminal, it's very helpful with going back and fixing things too. So that being said, I'm going in here. I'm going to stage this. So I'm able to just stage certain lines. So I'm just staging these lines that pertain to the partial for now. Because I want to commit this first, that I actually made a partial. Okay. Create partial for form error messages. So it's only staging those lines from, uh-oh. Let me double check this stuff. There we go. It's only staging those lines that have to do with creating the partial. And now I'm committing this. And you can see I have these 3 different branches. My master and my omniauth branches are up to date with my local and my remote, which is my origin branch. I don't have a remote for forms yet. So for this, I did some other changes. So I'm going to stage the whole file for these and say change form, change forms to form for and remove HTML. So now I'm actually going to discard all these changes. So I want to go through those separately. All right. And then in my terminal, I'm just going to open a new tab, BorrowBuddy, check that I'm in forms, do git push u origin forms. There we go. Now it's created a new branch, forms, in my origin, and it's tracking my changes. And you can see it's caught up to date in here too. So now that I have my form set up, I'm going to create the nested part of my form. And I actually want my recipient to appear above my item. So let's see. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to start here with recipient. Actually, I think I'll just do we'll do recipient first. So going to select a borrower, and then create a collection select. So borrow form dot collection select. I want it to return recipient ID. The collection is recipient.all. Display their name. Include blank. Select from drop down or no, I'm just going to put select line, and then or add a new borrow. So let's see. Let's make sure this is okay. So, okay, cool. Recipient ID, that's good. What I'm gonna want to do with this is borrow dot build recipient, because then that'll have the new recipient ready in case we need to create a new recipient in here. And let's see. Also want to add recipient attributes, which will be name, email, and phone. So now this is kind of like a miniature field inside of this overall field. So I'm going to do Form dot fields for recipient at borrow dot build recipient do recipient attributes. And it's kind of long, but oh well. So now, inside here, I'm gonna put name, email, and phone. Let's see what we get here. Oh, doesn't like my new params. I have a feeling it wouldn't. Let's do this. Okay. Select a borrower or add a new borrower. Name, email, phone. There we go. Cool. So basically, just gonna do the same for item. And then I'm going to hide my lender field in my form and have it auto-populate depending on the currently signed in lender. And that's how I'm constructing my new borrows form.